All right, hi everyone, and welcome to SONM's monthly Q&A session here on YouTube. I'm your host, Andy Sachs, and joining us to answer your questions, as always, live from SONM headquarters in balmy Moscow, is SONM's CTO, Igor Lebedev. So this session will last about 40 minutes, and just like in previous Q&As, Igor will answer your questions submitted in advance through Slido and other places. While he's doing that, you can ask new questions in the comments box of this YouTube video page, and if time permits, we'll answer a few of those as well. But first, we want to get started with a quick recap of some of the cool events so far in October. This has been SONM's most active month ever for events. In fact, in just 2 weeks, Igor and his team visited 4 conferences all around the world. First, they went to Fog World Congress in San Francisco, and SONM was a gold partner there. SONM actually had a giant booth, and Igor hosted a special presentation there about how to use fog computing for CGI rendering. That sounds pretty cool, actually. Then Igor hopped on a plane and went to Singapore for Cloud Expo Asia, and SONM had 2 different booths there in 2 of their exhibition zones. Igor also gave 4 keynote presentations and led 1 workshop all by himself. I'm not quite sure how he did that, but it happened. Next came the Yukon conference, which was back in Saratov, Russia. Igor gave the keynote speech there and met with developers and IT professionals in different fields to talk about fog computing trends and explain SONM itself and do a little promotion. And finally, Igor headed to the annual Open Innovations Forum in Moscow, which just finished up yesterday. This is apparently one of the biggest IT and innovation events in Russia. And Igor participated in a panel discussion called Blockchain Technology versus Innovation, and shared the stage with some of the most influential decision makers in the area, people from banking, telecom, education, and government. So for those of you keeping score at home, that's 4 shows in 3 continents over 2 weeks, including 3 cities, all starting with the letter S: Singapore, San Francisco, and Saratov. I told you I'd say it. And Igor, you have apparently become a one-man promotion team for SONM. You're traveling the world, getting the word out everywhere. Plus, I'm thinking you must have elite status by now on Aeroflot, I hope I said that right, and lots of tiny hotel room shampoos and soaps that you brought home for your collection. So beyond all of that, let's go ahead and dig into some of the questions that we have already assembled for you. First of all, Igor, how are you doing today?
Hi, Andy. So finally I'm able to say something. I'm glad to see you again. So yeah, so let's do this.
And the first one is one that I imagine is on the mind of many people, is that, and the way it's phrased is, any real company is using SONM now, which I translated to mean, do you have any real customers at this point?
You know, for today's Q&A, I've prepared like a hourglass, so it's for 1 minute. So you know, we have to answer all the questions. So I'll start. But for this one question, the answer will be short. Yes, we have real customers. One of them is Ashmanov Networks, and some of the customers we do not disclose yet, but we already have running tasks. And you know, the interesting thing, we have calculated a day ago that we currently control only 30% of the hash rate of what we have in SONM. So I mean, more than 60% of the network is purchased by someone else, by real customers or by people who are doing mining, but not by us. This is wonderful.
Okay, excellent. So what area, here's another question, what area should or are you focusing on for growing adoption, and why?
So, you know, we have a new roadmap, as I previously mentioned, and our key focuses now is features that people need to adopt. I will give a few examples. Let's say the most important thing now is the customers and the companies using it, and we need to make it easier to use with fiat money. So we are establishing a company in Europe to accept fiat currencies, and also we are working to develop Kubernetes integration and other things to provide other services, not only bare containers. And from the point of view of the hardware suppliers, they demanded monitoring system. I mean, when people contribute 10 or more computers inside SONM, they would like to have monitoring system to control that the computers run very well, etc. Because if they currently use similar software for mining, all that kind of software already provides a monitoring system. So we should provide it as well.
Okay. You mentioned mining in there somewhere. Here's another question. Can you tell us about mining and dual mining on SONM and its profitability?
Yeah, dual mining is a thing you could run on SONM. It would be just a way to pack a miner into a container and launch it. You can do it. We do a little bit different. I mean, when we do some mining on SONM, we do it separately. Separate mining on GPU with Ethereum, separate mining on CPU with Monero, and we currently working to provide the mining on disk drives. So we do it just differently, but you technically can run what you traditionally call dual mining with Claymore or let's say Decred using your own container.
Got it. Okay. Let's talk about the tasks being worked on right now. Here's the question as we received it. What is an example task being worked on or nearly complete that will ensure more profitability constantly for miners? So I interpret that to mean roughly, what are you doing or what have you done to make sure crypto miners can be profitable with SONM?
Our current main use case is neural network, and we already have such tasks running on the network, and these are image recognitions from the social networks. We already have such tasks running on the system. And about the profitability, so far they're paying slightly more than the mining gives. This is because we have a lot of resources by now, and customers at this moment they can pay slightly more than just the mining gives. But when we have more, when we will have more customers, they will have to compete each other. But for now, they pay slightly more, like 10 or 15% more.
Got it. All right. The next question is when fiat gate. So this one requires a little explanation. Fiat money is what crypto people would call regular for a certain country. Fiat gate then is a company that's willing to accept regular money, and they either convert it to cryptocurrency or they provide a service for it. So translated, the question might read, when will I be able to pay for SONM services with real world currency instead of paying with SONM tokens or another cryptocurrency?
Yeah, for these and similar questions, we have a published roadmap, and actually many of the questions that we face today, they're described in the roadmap, and particularly this point is described as first quarter of the next year. The company is already established, we already got a license for cryptocurrency exchange, and we're currently working on some other things, particularly a website and some other legal things to launch it. So it's on the roadmap.
Okay. How about the profitability calculator? We got a question asking you to explain that.
We already launched the profitability calculator as was promised in the third quarter of this year. So it's already working, and how it works, you just open the web page and you say what kind of hardware do you have. You may try it on our website. You just say, let's say I have this kind of CPU like i5, and I have 2 GPU cards, and I have this kind of network latency and bandwidth. So, and it estimates the price which you can get on some market with this hardware at this moment. So if you have the hardware, you may estimate how much money it will earn. If you are a customer, you may estimate how much money this hardware costs now. So this is it.
Got it. All right. How about the intellectual property rights? We got a question about this. It reads, does SONM as a company own its own full intellectual property rights over the entire SONM software, I'll say, ecosystem and its platform?
I think this is a little bit weird question because we write our software ourselves. We use some companies like Docker, or we use some other libraries, but their license permit us to do this. So we just do it. So the software we write, we do it on our own. It's published. So I think we have pretty much all the intellectual property on this.
Okay. How about this? This is a fan favorite. When will you publish a white paper?
The text is mostly done. I have an internal deadline, which I can tell you now is the end of October. This deadline is on me. The text is mostly done, and we will have to spend 2 more weeks to make visual part of this white paper. So the mid of November is the day to go.
Okay. Here's a sort of a tricky question. How successful would you rate a company that gathers $42 million from an ICO and close to 4 months after launching their LiveNet has a daily turnover or number of deals of about $90 on its network? So that's a little bit translated by me, and I think the gist of it is, look, if you were standing in the shoes of an outside observer looking at SONM, how would you evaluate your own performance at this stage?
You know, if we take the absolute numbers, that would sound like that would not sound like really a success, but if we look at the graph of the process, we would see that the number of deals and number of everything is growing from week to week. And by the way, just 1 week ago, we had a new all-time high of the number of deals on SONM platform. It was 1,500 deals, and so far, yeah, we have tens of unique suppliers. We have some unique customers. Actually, 11 unique customers on the platform. We have we actually have growing numbers. They're still not the 1,000, but the first 1,000 probably would be the most hardest one. So I'm impressed that we have some growing numbers. They're not stale.
Okay. Here's a question that we picked up from YouTube just in the last few minutes. Somebody asked, where can you get a SONM pin like the one Igor is wearing? So Igor, you show us this pin up close and tell us about it?
How do you say SONM what? SONM?
A SONM pin like the one you're wearing.
This is this one. Oh, it was one of the merchandise gifts we were like giving away on all of the conferences, so basically to obtain these kind of things, you should visit our booth when we visit conferences. This is the way to go. Probably it may be sold in our merchandise shops. We have a link on our website to our merchandise shop. Probably they are sold there, but I got it for free, so I don't know how to maybe it's sold there.
You had an inside track there, good. Let's talk a little bit about SONM's platform. What is your plan, if you have one, to increase the user-friendliness of the SONM platform? So there's somebody out there who feels the user-friendliness needs to be increased.
Yeah, I agree that the friendliness definitely has to be increased. We have a lot of feedback so far for the recent month after we launched. There is an overwhelming number of text of the feedback we have, and we are working in all directions. And as I already mentioned, we work to make it more friendly for miners and for the hardware suppliers by the SONM installer. We launched SONM OS, a dedicated installer which automates the whole installation. We have a monitoring facility in the development which allow you to contribute tens of machines to SONM and watch them how they work inside, on one single screen. And about the customers, we have to improve our graphical interface, of course, our web UI. There a lot of work has to be done, but we also develop additional software like profitability calculator. When we have almost implemented our blockchain explorer, which is ongoing as well. So we have some Telegram bots to monitor your deals on the platform. Some additional tools around it, and we do a lot of work around this. But the most focus for us from the customer's point of view is the implementation of Kubernetes and serverless execution, which will be in the first quarter of the next year. So.
Okay, got it. All right, the next question is about the KYC3. The question is, how many people have passed KYC3 so far? And it seems, at least to the person asking, that not many people are interested in it.
Yeah, not many, actually below 10 people, maybe a couple of them, maybe several. It's complicated. I've tried to do it myself, and it takes a couple of hours actually to pass it. But the thing is that we cannot allow just any person to execute anything on the SONM platform, because otherwise this will be the home of botnet, etc. So this is a necessary procedure, but the way how we think this will be overcome in the future is that when we will launch our company, which will be providing services for fiat money, this company will have a simplified procedure of identification, because you will just pay with a credit card, and this way we will identify you. And so, people working with this company, they will effectively using resources on SONM, but through this company as a proxy, and company will identify them with an easier way. So, but what we do on the platform now is we are one of the first to do this identification for distributed computing on a distributed system. So, there is no single server, but we still need people to be identified in case they don't do anything bad. So, could not do it easier now, and how we want to improve it in the future. We'll have different companies making this identification, not only Cryptonomica, but so far only Cryptonomica, because actually they are one of the few companies who are able to take the legal part of the identification as well. There are many companies who can do identification, but they want you to do the legal part. They want you to be the company holding the personal data, but on some platform there should not be any single company. So We accept only those identification providers who will be able to carry the legal part of it as well. So Cryptonomic is one of them. We are looking for more. If you know any more companies, just give us an advice. So we plan to make it simpler, and the company which we establish will also make it simpler. So this is it. I think I'm out of 1 minute for this particular question.
That's all right. How about the SONM OS? The question is, will the SONM OS be available in a live version with no install required, so it won't wipe your hard drive to use it?
Yeah, sure. It will be. We already work on this. We have a dedicated engineer actually working on this. The next step of the development of the SONM OS would be actually the live CD version. In that case, you know, the problem with live CD for us is compared to typical mining operating systems builds that we have to store Docker containers somewhere on the hard drive, so we need a hard drive. So in our live CD version, we will use the flash drive which you used to install. We will use it itself to hold containers temporarily when your worker downloads them. So some more development efforts to be done here. So, but I think within 1 month or two, we'll have a live CD version as well if all goes right.
Okay, and there were people wondering about your support of Windows and Mac as well, so that question feeds in too, right?
Yeah, talking about Windows and Mac, there are two parts here. First part is to support it for the customers, and for customers we already support it. I mean, if you want to use computing power of SONM, you may install our binaries, our client on Windows or on Mac or on Linux. It's cross-platform already. But if you want to run your applications on Windows environment, you will have to wait until we provide a hypervisor for Windows as well. And talking about Mac, I think we won't be providing Mac environment for your applications anytime soon. We don't have this on our horizon. And the third point, talking about the contributing of the hardware. So, I mean, if you want to contribute to hardware, today you need to install Linux. In the future, maybe there would be Windows support as a host system, because these are different things, to run your application on the Windows environment or to use Windows on your hosts. So we have a point on the roadmap which is support Windows as guest machines to run your applications in the Windows environment. But that would be probably running on the specialized hypervisor like VMware or others, maybe QVM. But about Windows as a host, this is more complicated and not on the radar so far. But you can do it with the virtual machine on Windows. Talking about Mac, Mac support is already possible for you as a hardware supplier, but it won't support GPUs actually, so it has few cents so far. Again, out of 1 minute, sorry.
That's okay. Here's a quick one for you. Somebody noted that it looks on camera like your plant, the pot holding the plant on the table in front of you, they said it looks like it's levitating, and they want to know if it's running on SONM. To me it doesn't look like it's levitating, but it's certainly spinning around. It
is levitating. It's on the magnet levitation, whatever. Yes, it is.
Okay, so that leads me to ask personally, is SONM living in the future in a place where plants can levitate, or
no, actually, I think
are you in 2018 with us?
This is a matter of some money just to make it work, and so I see. Oh, it's too thick. Sorry. Okay. I wanted to show you this trick is really flying, but forget it.
All right, let's turn to SONM's own team. Somebody asked the question about jobs on your website. They said there are many jobs posted on your website. Can you explain how the hiring process is going and what plans you have for new hires?
Yeah, we have some open positions, but you know, our hiring standards are very high. We only hire seniors so far, just because we don't have time to educate people. So we have some HR work going on, but it's hard to find the people we currently need, so it is slow. Okay. And it drains time. Actually, if you have an open position and you would make an interview for 15 people, it drains actually 30 hours from your life. And this drains your energy and like disturbs your work, so it's not fast.
Okay. Somebody else asked, when are we finally going to see the head of marketing at the Q&A? And your SONM's head of marketing responded to this, right? Camilla said, I'll be joining one of the next Q&As.
So if Camilla told this, she would. But you know, anyway, I'll tell you how it works in our company. Actually, We have a Q&A next week. Who will want to take part in it? Actually, this is mostly taken by me just because I am okay with it. But this is like this is not a duty. This is like a right to join it. So anyone can join this if he feels like confident enough to talk on any topics. So Camila, if she promised, she will join.
Okay. I got a few questions for you in the blockchain SONM token area. First, there's a question about sidechain. Why is having sidechain so important?
Having it is so important because actually it's not really possible to run your system on master chain of the blockchain, let's say on Ethereum so far. Let's say if we run our marketplace with the number of deals which is so far small, not really huge, on the Ethereum master chain, we would effectively consume all the transactions per second capacity they have so far already. I mean, if we try to do it today, we would already be out of the performance of Ethereum on the mainnet today with only our small amounts. So, and it would be very expensive. We would pay more on transaction fees on Ethereum than we would earn on the platform so far if we did. So the reason for this is that the network is used by all the projects in the world. I mean, Ethereum is used by everyone, and they all share one capacity, they all share the fees, etc. So actually, the only right way to go today for most projects is to have their own blockchain or sidechain. This is what we do. And the truth is that the rightness of this solution is confirmed that some of our competitors or like similar companies, they're already working on sidechain as well. Let's say I've heard Golem or Isaac are working on sidechain, one of them or both of them. So because this is the right way to go.
Okay. How about the safety? Someone asked, is SONM sidechain safe, and how will the SONM sidechain prevent a potential 51% attack?
SONM sidechain is safe. It currently runs on proof of authority. We have a number of nodes controlled by us. The plan is that we make it public with the introduction of the master nodes in the next year, in the first quarter. It is safe because the proof of authority is pretty much safe when you run it on your hardware. It's safe enough. About the 51% attack, actually 51% attack is complex to implement on its own, and actually everyone could be a victim of it. Even Bitcoin and Ethereum can be victim of 51% if you are able to construct it. To construct it, you have to control 51% of the resources, be it hash rate or be it the tokens. In our case, the future plans is to have proof of stake on SON, and everyone is prone to 51%. It's impossible to protect it if the attacker has the most tokens in the master nodes. It's just impossible to protect from it. But in that case, the attacker, if he has 51% of the token, he is at the same time not only the attacker, but effectively the holder of the SON as well. He will be our number first investor, and if he misbehaves, the token price will fall down and he will lose what he has in tokens. So it actually doesn't make any sense to purchase 51% of the token and then just waste them.
Got it. Sounds counterproductive.
Yeah.
All right. How about this question? Why don't you use a stable token such as its DAI, it might be pronounced DAI, or TrueUSD as an internal token?
Why should we? I mean, when the question is asked in the forum, why don't you use this or that? This question implies that there is some specific sense to do this, and why don't we just see it and use it? And honestly, I don't see big sense to use stablecoin on our platform so far. I mean, we have our own token. We had it since the ICO. It's good for payments. It will be used as well in the future for master nodes. Why should we use something different?
Okay.
Doesn't make any sense.
A couple of questions on master nodes. The first one reads, master nodes were originally scheduled for summer and they're now delayed until Q1 of 2019. It's a significant investment for token holders to prepare, so can you explain what happened there?
It's about the priorities. Yeah, we had some thoughts that we would go for this earlier, but there are 2 points here. First, we have priorities, and whatever the team size is, and we have a relatively big team, but small in the compared with the enterprise, but still big in the terms of the startups. But we always have more work than we can do, so we have to give priority to the tasks that would help the adoption. I mean, help the customers, help the hardware suppliers, whatever. And at the end of the day, we end up that master nodes are having secondary priority. We try to keep them in the list, but we have to do things which would help the adoption. And the second point is that until we have adoption and much use of the market, anyway, until then, we don't see much sense in bringing master nodes until we have small markets. So anyway, we have to grow a little bit before we introduce them. So currently we have first quarter of the next year. It sounds like a good deadline for us. We feel like feel okay to implement it by that time.
Okay.
But mostly it's about the priorities.
Okay.
It's not a product feature.
There were other Q&As that mentioned that the SONM token is only used as a currency. So somebody asked, when will you provide more information on tokenomics? Are there more incentives being developed for SONM tokens?
Yeah, SONM token will be used as well for establishing master nodes, for taking part in the referral program, and possibly for the DAO features in the future. So it will be used for staking and holding as well. We'll have two types of master nodes, referral program, payments on the platform. For all of that, the token will be used.
Okay. Let me ask you one more question about the SONM master nodes. What's the updated ROI for those master nodes? The economic explanation behind them.
We will provide some updates here when we are close to the first quarter of the next year, because by this particular time, this feature is not even in the work. I mean, we have some software developers and each of them is doing only one task at a time, and particular master nodes are currently not in the work, particularly now. We have referral system, we have updated market, everything in the work, rating system, whatever. So I think we will get back to these questions once we finish with the higher priority features, and then we get back to master nodes, and by that time we'll provide some updated information.
Okay, we've got about 9 minutes left, and we've got a handful of questions to ask you, and we've probably got room for 1 or 2 more through the YouTube session, and I don't see many others. So if you have a question, please go ahead and ask. We may also cover the question you asked in the questions that I'm going to ask anyway right now, starting with this one. And these are under the rumors category. Is there any plan to bring the SONM token price to the level of an ICO price? And the follow-up question is when moon, but I understand I'm supposed to say when moon, like that.
Yeah, sound like that. This is a classical question, but the one single answer for this is that we don't support any kind of manipulations with our tokens, so we don't currently, we could not influence the price without manipulations, which we are obviously not doing because we are responsible people. So we are not doing manipulations, we are not influencing the token price, so I don't know how could we do this. It's completely out of our control and out of our scope.
Okay.
This is it.
All right. How about, this is another rumor, when is the DApp coming, the special blockchain application, on the SONM sidechain?
SONM is not particularly designed for DApps, because DApps, we should define what we mean by DApp. And in our industry, this typically means a software which runs on the blockchain, like application which are regular applications. They run on the backend on the servers, and if the application doesn't have the backend server itself, is not a DApp because it implies to use some kind of blockchain, and our blockchain is not our primary service. So SONM is instead for regular applications. So regular applications have a regular backend on the server, but they may have a regular backend on SONM. So this is for us. So DApp is just not the way to say about SONM. The question should be when just applications.
Okay. A couple of questions from the YouTube channel. One is, are you happy with the market situation and the course? I think they mean in the course of how things are going with the market in SONM and your development on the market.
Do you mean market of SONM computing power exchange, or you mean the cryptocurrency market? What do they mean?
I think it's your pick. The question just reads, are you happy with the market situation? So you can answer it as you'd like.
Oh, I think there is no sense to talk about the cryptocurrency market, because anyway, I'm not expert in this field, but about the market of SONM deals, I think we have some growth. It's not the growth we expected initially last year, but anyway, we have growth, and as I told, this month we had an absolute all-time high, which was 1,500 deals, and it's growing, so I think we are growing anyway. Not the speed we wanted, but anyway.
All right, and here's one more from the YouTube channel. In what states are the associations with Selectel and dBrain? I'll let you translate that one.
I can tell about Selectel. We have some, since we had negotiations with Selectel, after that time, their COO joined SONM. This is Oleg Lyubimov. So actually, the man from Selectel who was responsible for the partnership from their side joined our company as COO. So we had some slowdown in that relationship, but at this moment we have some ongoing activities with them again. I cannot tell you, sorry, I cannot tell it right now, but we expect something to happen by the late November or December. And when we will be ready to talk about this, we will say this. About D-Brains, I don't have information. This was my colleagues working with them, so cannot say. Need to clarify.
Believe it or not, we've cruised through pretty much all the questions. We have a couple of minutes to spare, so I just want to ask you a general question about what's coming next for SONM. What events are you going to? What's new on the technical horizon? What's coming up in November and the rest of October?
So, new white paper, new features. Okay, we have some serious updates to our installer, and we have some serious expectations linked with our installer. It will have monitoring. It will be pretty much a in-place replacement for mining rig operating systems. White paper, you will like it when we finish it, because it will be a comprehensive paper about everything we do. Actually, everything you learned from our chats, for the people who stay in our chats, everything about what we do with explanations, with comparisons. This would be our new flagship idea holder. And we have some serious expectations from the Fiat gateway, from the Kubernetes integration, etc. So we look into the future. And we have some activities ongoing as well from the market development, so it's slow, but still we have some progress here. And I think it would be all about the first 1,000 of the deals, because the first 1,000 would be the most difficult. But still, every day we have new facts of our system being tried and used, so I mean, we have the belief that we are doing the right thing.
Okay. How about events coming up? Are you going to any events in the rest of October or November, December, or are you just trying to catch up on your sleep from all your globe trotting?
Enough world traveling for this year, but we will have a major IT conference in Russia. It's called High Load. It will be in November. Actually, this is a top IT conference in Russia. We'll have a speaker, not me, it will be our chief software developer, Evgeny Safronov. He'll tell about some particular networking solution we have about NAT penetration. This topic was accepted by the committee. It's very strict about topics, but they accepted it. And the next year, we probably will visit some conferences as well, but my most expectations are connected with the Rust conference. I mean, the CloudFest conferences in Rust. It would be about March or April. This is my main expectation for next year, because this is a major cloud conference in the world. Probably we'll have some meetups, but I don't have the dates. It's probably Carolina or Camila may answer.
Okay, and I know that the CloudFest conference is right at the end of March. As you said, it's in Rust, Germany, which is near Frankfurt. I'll be there as well, helping out with booth presentations, so that should be a really big, fun time for SONM.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, it's just about time to wrap up. I want to thank Igor for providing all the answers, and I especially want to thank everybody out there in YouTube land who's been following SONM, who sent in your questions, who followed this chat live. We really appreciate you tuning in and your attention to SONM and following them in the market. We hope you see progress from Q&A to Q&A as things continue to evolve, and we'll be back in mid-November for the next one.
Okay, Andy, thanks for this video again. See you next time.
All right, my pleasure. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.